Agricultural trade restrictions imposed on South Africa by Botswana and Namibia are causing conflicts within the regional cooperation goals of the Southern African Customs Union. Experts suggest that while it is important for South Africa to approach this with firmness, it is equally important for the needs of Botswana and Namibia to be considered while advocating for a balanced resolution that respects national agreements. Thabile Nkunjana, agricultural economist, joins me now to speak about these restrictions and the impact they have on the agricultural sector. Thabile, I appreciate your time this afternoon. Now, what are the specific trade restrictions imposed by Botswana and Namibia, and when did they begin?
Okay, good afternoon to you, Hugo, and your viewers at home. Thanks for having me. This trade restriction has been going on for quite some time for both countries, that is Namibia and Botswana. But as of recent years, they have been kind of escalating, specifically from Botswana, when Botswana put on a restriction of about 2 years in early 2022, which has been going on until now. So then as for the Namibians, the agency there that is dealing with the regulations of the products that are being exported by South Africa to Namibia, it has been putting restrictions and then open restrictions from time to time. So this has been going on for some years, but it has been consistent in recent times because of a number of issues that both countries have been putting out for the past few months.
Now, have these restrictions impacted South African farmers and the regional supply chains within SACU? I'd imagine that it's created some form of discomfort for some of the players.
It's huge, Hugo. It is a problem because imagine this is a block that has been out there for over 100 years. That is the SACU region, and the trade has been going on for that long. So now, meaning for South Africa, which has been a dominant player as far as these products concerned, is that there have been serious investments that have been put in terms of making sure that the country, that is South Africa, can be able to supply these countries these products. And therefore, once you put some measures like this, it triggers a lot of whole chain input. Because remember, as much as there are farmers that are involved in this, there are also logistic companies, both in all countries, that is the countries that are moving from Botswana to South Africa to get the products, or those that are from South Africa to get to Botswana, and of other kind of logistics that are behind the products themselves. So it is something that is quite significant. Also remember that South Africa is a country, it is huge in terms of exporting these products, and therefore any of these trade barriers from it to send their products, it has a direct economic impact on the farmers themselves, and of course the economy of the country, which is why there's been a lot of talks in terms of how should we go about and resolve this, because millions are worth at stake here. The billions that are, for instance, that the country has exported. If you are to look vegetables specifically, the product that goes to these countries, not specifically Namibia and Botswana, which are quite huge in terms of the share, it can go around 3 billion, and that is a lot of money if in terms of the investment that all the other players that are involved in the entire sector, be it a farmer or a logistic company, or even one that is a person that is involved in terms of the value addition on the processing of it.
Thabile, from what we know, Botswana's president, Mokgweetsi Masisi, took to X, formerly Twitter, some time ago to announce excitedly to celebrate Botswana's banning of imported vegetables, and obviously talking about the progress that the Botswana have made in growing their own crops. Now, it would seem that one of the challenges has been the communication, that if it has been communicated to South Africans or anybody else via Twitter, then this might be a challenge, because it doesn't allow for planning, does it?
Absolutely. The issue is with that. I think I've also seen myself. I've seen a video that was circulating along all the platforms, mainly from Twitter. So even from the comments that were made around it, that is the video itself that was made by the senior official from Botswana. You can tell that a lot of people, they're kind of different views about it. But the main problem with that is that it does not allow countries like South Africa, for instance, this case, which is the one that is being mostly impacted by this, as much as South Africa is a country, it is an exporter of these products. It is important that there's a clear communication. For instance, if I can make an example about Namibia, something that has been, I think, has not been communicated well, is that Namibia, when there's going to be a product that they want to stop importing, they put a clear notification in terms of these are the products that we're not going to be able to export for this period, based on whether they have a local supply that is in surplus, so therefore they can be able to cater for themselves, or they're going to be having, maybe because of their incapacity in terms of production, they didn't produce enough for a certain period, and therefore they put restriction. But for Namibians, this is something that has been sort of, the communication has been going on a little bit, which is something that, I mean, some of the farmers or the producers that are involved in that market, they can appreciate. But it is different for Namibia, because they just, Botswana, for instance, they just put in the 2-year period that, okay, look, for this time around, we're going to put this ban. And of course, unfortunately, there's not a number of data that can attest in terms of how much of an impact this has had, at least for the consumers. Because remember, as much as South Africa from its side is exporting, there are consumers from Botswana or even other country that is Namibia that is going to have to be impacted by this. There was a time where retailers, they were complaining a lot in terms of them not getting enough products. I feel like as much as there was a video that was circulating, I hope it could have made it more clear in terms of how much progress they have made in terms of them being able to meet the requirements or the products that they get for South Africa. But I think the most important thing, it is to have a clear dialogue in terms of how do we go about, address this. Even if you go to Europe, certain countries can't produce as efficient products as others. That's why you have Spain, you have Netherlands dominate in a lot of other products, because inefficiency is also the capacity with the resources, water, land. There's not the same. So we should not be able to just put on restriction. There should be a proper dialogue in terms of, we're going to need these products at this time and this, we're not going to be able to need them. And that, of course, will help the producers to be able to plan as the communication has been sent.
So how do the trade restrictions align or conflict with the principles of the SACU agreement? Because from what we understand, this agreement is for free trade between the three countries, or is it?
Yeah. As I said earlier on, that we have this is one of the oldest in the world, actually, if you are to look into in terms of the age. So there's always been this movement of goods across the countries, and something that has been put down in writing, that there should be, a movement of individuals and products in terms of making sure that the bloc, that is the SACU bloc, is doing trade efficiently, and of course benefiting each other in terms of economies. Because as much as South Africa in this instance is benefiting as far as vegetables is concerned, South Africa is also a market. There's a lot of products, agricultural products that are coming from both these countries, that is Botswana and Namibia. And therefore, it is not a one-way street. And of course, as far as the reality is concerned, is that not every country will be able to to be as good as the other one in terms of producing beef and any products. But as far as the the writing, there is a written sort of a law, even with some sections that are allowing countries to provide grievances should those be available. For instance, there has been talks in terms of that South Africa has been suppressing these other markets and all that, meaning they have been sending products at a cheaper price than they are produced at their domestic market. There's a route to do that, and therefore there should be a research probably done to say, look, for this period, South Africa has done damage for our industry based on A, B, and C, which is something that South Africa does to 8 other countries. For instance, if I can make an example about the poultry, there's an issue that we always talk about. Certain countries cannot be able to supply South Africa because of those, harm that they make to certain industries. Therefore, there's always, rooms to go around this. And of course, it is written down by, all the members that are within the SACU that should there be an issue, it should be communicated. And of course, there are clauses within, the written documents that allows these countries for these years to be able to trade to one another.
Thabile, finally, what measures do you think South Africa should take to mitigate these challenges? And obviously the communication that's got to be occurring between it and its farmers that are producing these vegetables.
I think as much as South Africa it is at this stage, or at least for now, is going through some rough patches. Because remember, I mean, economic issues do not only affect the consumers; they also affect the farmers that produce the food that consumers, buy. But now, as for the measures to be taken, one, the main issue is going to have to be the communication, clear communication, so that we don't just get random, statements from be it in any person, especially those people that are influential, because it can create some sort of a tone, not necessarily for the countries that are currently involved. Remember, SACU has countries like Lesotho, Swaziland, Eswatini, and of course, if you are at Botswana and Mozambique, it has also been put as an SACU plus country that is also somehow involved in this. And because of the proximity, you cannot necessarily avoid your neighbor. So what is important is that there has to be a clear indication. But not only that, also, in terms of, for instance, if I can make an example about North America, USA is a huge country in North America, but they get around 77% of their products from Mexico, a country that is very different to them. And this goes also to what I was telling you about the market, what markets needs, and also the resources that each country will have. For instance, for South Africa now, the important thing is that there's going to be heavily, dialogues, and these dialogues should involve the producers that are involved in producing those products. There has to be retailers, so that at least the retailers between these countries, some of them are the retailers that you'll find in Botswana or even in Namibia, they are also in South Africa, and then logistic companies. There's those kind of stakeholders. They need to be engaged and involved in talks in terms of how do we go about resolving this, because that's the only way that we're going to go about this than to just put some bans that somehow, because as the main issue I was saying earlier on is that we need to have a very economic a friendly area trading with one another, something that we've been doing for quite some time. So it's clear that one thing that needs to be done at this stage, it is to understand what is the problem for each of the countries that are involved. If there's any material problems that are coming out of this, those should be involved based on the dialogues that all the parties that are involved that are going to be able to sit down and discuss all those problems.